Well, hey, this is Kelly, and welcome to my review of Gerber's Ultimate Knife, or the Bear Grylls Survival Knife. Now, I'm working on different formats to cut production time, so we're going to see how this goes. Now, a lot of fellows are interested in a complete knife system for the woods, and they see this rig, and right away they scoff at it. Then they go out and they buy a cheap Mora knife, and they tape all the same stuff on it, and then make a YouTube video about it. So I figured, well, why not buy it in a complete system and see if it works? I mean, why not? So this review is going to be split into two sections, the sheath system and then the actual knife. Enjoy. For this survival package, the sheath is just as important as the blade. The retention is good, and you can see here the large plastic paddle that pinches in the blade for carry, as well as the Velcro strap that holds the hinged part of the sheath onto the loops. On the front of the sheath is a ferro rod that snaps in tightly with a positive click and a rubber seal to prevent material from invading this space, and it fits perfectly in with the system. The handle's comfortable as well. On the back of the hinged part of the sheath is a coarse diamond sharpener, and it's too coarse for my taste. It would definitely mess up a fine edge rather than hone it. However, if your edge is totally gone in a survival situation, the coarse system can probably bring back a service edge to the knife. It'll be useless, however, for the serrated section of the blade, and that's one more reason to go plain edge. The back of the fastening section of the sheath has some waterproof signaling information on it, as well as a tight pocket for the paper survival guide that comes with the knife that I've promptly removed. You gotta memorize this information, but truthfully it's nice to have on a system designed for survival from the ground up. It's a good addition. Not all was good though. The Velcro will get messed up with use, and this should have been snaps on a knife of this price. And after just a few uses, the cheap nature of this system started to show by fraying a little bit on the ends. Not really impressed with the Velcro, but overall an A for theory and a B- for execution. The stone should be finer, the ferro rod could be slightly larger in diameter, and the Velcro needs to go. But the point is, all the stuff in its current format is going to work. It's just not top grade. That's all. Well, moving on to the blade itself. It's sized well for a dedicated mid-size survival blade, and it weighs 8.4 ounces naked and 13.4 ounces housed in the sheath, so it's not too heavy, but the Mora 2000 style blade has a similar cutting ability for less weight, and it drops the serrations for a better overall appeal to most knife users. It costs less too. The knife is nicely logoed with Bear's name if you like that kind of stuff, and the serrations flat out should not be there. They take up too much of the cutting surface. You can't do fine work in the power area of the cutting surface. They're going to bend and be destroyed during a batoning session, and they're impossible to properly sharpen in the field and arguably in the house as well. Now, it's true they offer more cutting power, but they're task specific, like EMS rescue or perhaps bakery applications. On a dedicated woodsman survival blade, look, they just flat out stink. Later in the video, I try to sort out a possible advantage for them in a survival situation, but I just can't bring myself to want them to be there. It was a poor decision on Gerber's part to put them there, period. Plain edge is king. Now the pommel's good. The waffle grabbed the surface of the material I was whacking nicely, and the weak design has been fixed on the second run of the knife. No more broken pommels. Notice the whistle on the lanyard as well. The ferro rod strike area worked really nice, but I noticed lots of squared edge degrading after several uses, and that's a sign of pretty soft steel. Now it still worked, but I was a little concerned that a $3 striker from firesteel.com held up better than the spine of my survival knife. The handle's good, and it has a nice shape and texture. There are holes for lashing, but I wouldn't advise it. Bear Grylls or BG is blazed on the tacky rubbery grip for a nice touch if you're into that kind of thing. Look, it's an overall C+ for the knife. The serrations are ridiculous, and they're a stupid call. And for $50, the steel is too soft, as observed with simple ferro rod strikes. On the plus side, the pommel and handle are very well thought out, and they're serviceable. The blade has a nice shape, and the weight is good for the ability of the knife. It would be a B+ if it were a plain edge. Look, overall the knife is okay. Truthfully, I really expected it to be better, and initially I thought it was better, but it's just okay. If I had it to do over again, I probably wouldn't buy the knife. If you really want it, it's not bad, but there are a lot better options at this price point. I mean, we're talking, you know, a $50 to $60 blade here. You can get a lot for that kind of money. 1095 carbon is going to do a lot better than this Chinese CR MOV steel. Consider springing for a similar size blade with a plain edge and better steel. It turns out the fellas that buy a naked knife and strap on all the stuff after market might have something going on after all. So thanks for watching, and enjoy some more observations in the rest of the review.
Alright, just a couple thoughts on the Grylls Gerber Ultimate Knife. First of all, a lot of guys don't like this because of this. They think it's tacky, and it might be. I mean, I had this along on my Appalachian Trail hike, and I mentioned that just the fact that it's got Bear Grylls' name all over it. You know, love him or hate him, it's a gimmick, and a lot of guys don't like it for that. But lay that aside, pretend that isn't there, and this is just the Gerber Ultimate Survival Knife. So we're going from that. We're going from there, and it's actually not that bad. I wasn't a big fan of serrations before, and I'm still not. And I haven't really abused this thing, to be truthful, but I have used it. I carried it on my hip during yard work, and I cut some roots off with it. And the truth is that in a true survival scenario, partially serrated blades might not be that bad of an idea. The problem with serrations is that they're very difficult to maintain, and when you have a knife you use on a regular basis and you get into a situation where you're trying to maintain those serrations, it's just not going to happen. They're going to get, you know, messed up, and you're not going to have a very nice edge in a matter of days, you know, if you're working with it regularly. But in a survival scenario, if you save this and you only use this knife in a true survival scenario, I think those serrations might actually be an asset, a benefit to you if you're not concerned about, you know, if it's a 3 to 5 day survival scenario and you're not concerned about really destroying the edge for future use. You know you're gonna be using this blade for a period of time, and you're gonna use those serrations as an asset. I was cutting roots out of the ground with it, and it would grab and bite into the root and just rip it right off. You know, with a regular plain edge knife, it would slide, or I'd have to carve it on a 45 to pull it out. But with them serrations, it bites right in and chews it right off. And that might be an asset if you're cutting a lot of fibrous material, making cordage, for example, for a shelter, whatever. You know, I can think of a few off the top of my head, but a partially serrated blade is not necessarily a bad thing in a true survival scenario. Another observation is this fire striker, this flat spot on the back for your ferro rods, actually works really, really good. One of the best ones I ever used. And I didn't use it on the one that's in the sheath, because I want to keep this one nice. I have lots and lots of them. I bet I bought a dozen of them this year so far, between, you know, some kids I gave them to, and myself and my own children. I bought a lot of them, so I have them, and I was using this to strike them, and man alive, that really throws some solid sparks. So that's another positive thing. Very comfortable handle. A lot of guys complained on the first run that the pommel was breaking off. Okay, you're going to overpay, and you're going to get a product that isn't up to snuff when you buy the very first run. It's just like a car or a motorcycle or a gun or anything else. You buy it the very first second it comes out, you're going to be the guinea pig, and you're going to pay more. And when Gerber brought these out, this plastic unit right here, which is a lot thicker on this on the second run, you can see it radiuses out right here and gets thicker right there. It has been corrected, so this is a second run knife, and I haven't had any problems with light to reasonable pummeling with this thing. I mean, I wasn't out hammering, I didn't have it on construction job sites hammering in nails, but you know, you want to hammer in a tent stake or you know, bust a nut, it's not going to be a problem at all. Yeah, and the knife is right sized, comfortable, haven't had any problems with it. I like it. Over to the sheath. You know, it's got this ferro rod in it. It's not a very big ferro rod. I'm using it, I'm just going to keep it in there for emergencies. It's going to be a secondary fire starter. I'm not going to use it unless I need it. And then you open this up, and you have a very coarse sharpener in the back right there. I haven't used it to sharpen the knife because it's really going to mess up the edge. I sharpen this with my good sharpeners, but it would seem like it would work. Perhaps I should try it on a Mora or something before I go ahead and give it an A+. But what I did notice is, you know, this part right here then is kind of extra. You wouldn't really need all that. I'm not sure why it's there. Why didn't Gerber just package the whole knife in this? Put a belt loop on the back of that, maybe put a small protector over there so you're not scratching on your trousers, and you could have a much lighter unit. You wouldn't need to deal with all that mess in the back. So that would be great if you could just slide the knife right into there. Much smaller package, and you wouldn't necessarily lose any functionality. You should have this stuff on the back memorized anyway. So yeah, it's right sized. The steel is it's CRMOV steel. It's Chinese steel. I'm not sure. 8CR13 MOV is the stuff that's, you know, AUS-8 comparable. This is not quite that good. I haven't had any problem with edge retention or the serrations bending. There again, I haven't abused it. I have used it, but I haven't abused it. So I don't know how the edge would hold up in under an extended thump. I paid $45 for this knife, or thereabouts, on Amazon.com. I see it's back up to $50, but for $45, no problems. I'm kind of impressed with it, actually. The whistle, I use it on the AT, the Appalachian Trail. It's not very loud. You blow into it, you got to find the sweet spot, because if you blow into it really hard, the whistle actually goes away. The sound doesn't get louder; it just ceases to work. So you got to blow a certain amount of air through it to make it happen. But it's not bad. It's a lot better than yelling, and it's loud enough to be heard. So yeah, I would say, I don't know if it's a must buy, but if you're considering it and you have $50 to burn and you've been looking at it, go for it. There's no problems with it. Now somehow, if you want to be able to cover that up, I don't blame you. I don't know Bear Grylls personally, love him or hate him. I just don't like having a knife that has somebody's name on it that isn't mine. Alright, back to the slideshow.